So far, there have been no cases of the Omicron variant detected in the U.S., and experts caution there's still a lot to learn about the real threat it could pose. Meanwhile, today, President Biden says he doesn't think new lockdowns will be needed and that the current vaccines are likely to provide protection against severe disease from the new variant. But his administration is working with drug manufacturers to update vaccines or boosters if needed.
The very day the World Health Organization identified the new variant, I took immediate steps to restrict travel from countries in southern Africa. But while we have that travel restrictions can slow the speed of Omicron, it cannot prevent it. But here's what it does. It gives us time. It gives us time to take more actions, to move quicker, to make sure people understand you have to get your vaccine. You have to get the shot. You have to get the booster. The sooner or later, we're going to see cases of this new variant here in the United States. We'll have to face this new threat just as we face those that come before it.
State leaders here in New Jersey are also focused on this new variant, although Governor Murphy says the Delta strain is still dominant here, with another 1,800 cases reported today and 5 more deaths. Murphy said we will see in the coming weeks if there'll be an anticipated spike following the Thanksgiving holiday. But hospitalizations are already rising, now up to 950 patients, the highest number in 7 weeks. Health leaders continue to urge residents to get vaccines and boosters. Just under 6.2 million people here are now fully vaccinated, and 1.3 million have gotten a booster. That's 29% of all eligible residents. But experts say it could be weeks before we know how well our current vaccines protect us against this newest variant of concern. Joanna Gagos reports on what we know so far.
I think the big concern here is, and what we don't quite know yet, is whether or not this is going to cause severe illness, more severe than Delta in terms of hospitalization and deaths, and whether or not this variant is going to be the one that can get around both natural or vaccine immunity.
That and whether the new COVID variant Omicron will soon replace Delta as the most widely spread.
There have been cases that have been detected in southern Africa as well as several European countries, UK, Germany, Italy, Belgium, and there are several suspected cases elsewhere as well. Right now, what we do know is that Omicron seems to be on track to overtake the Delta variant as the dominant strain in southern Africa.
Omicron has not been described in the United States. We highly suspect it's here somewhere. But for now, as of today, the concern is still the Delta variant. That is far and beyond the overwhelmingly the majority of cases in the United States, and at this time still globally.
But anticipating the spread here to the U.S., President Biden is restricting travel from South Africa and 7 other African countries. The restrictions don't include U.S. citizens, lawful permanent residents, or their spouses, even if they're not citizens, leaving the door open for Omicron to make its entrance here.
The reality is that as our region is a hub of international travel and commerce, we must be ready now in anticipation of this variant hitting us. There is still very much unknown about this new variant. We are all closely following the research into this variant as it is released, and we're all watching closely as new cases are discovered and reported.
But current COVID testing here in the U.S. is not detecting variants on the same level as they're doing in the U.K. and in South Africa.
Both countries are far and beyond, far and wide, ahead of us in their ability to rapidly genomically sequence variants.
But what they're seeing so far gives plenty of cause for concern, says Dr. Sharif Elnahal.
The Delta variant, which is again the most common variant now, the spike protein, which does the business of actually entering your cells and infecting you, has about 10 key mutations that make it more transmissible and more severe than the original virus. This one seems to have over 30 of those mutations and seems to be combining the mutations that cause easier spread, more severe disease, but also the ability to evade antibodies from our vaccines.
Perry Halkitis says he saw this variant coming last summer.
What was very clear to me at that point was because we were not reaching herd immunity, because we had vaccine rejection in our country, because other parts of the world were not reaching herd immunity also, that the virus would continue to spread and would continue to mutate and would go further down the Greek alphabet.
With this new variant, are we one step closer to a mutation that can outpace the vaccines?
I'm always worried about a mutation that can outsmart the vaccines. We have the pharmaceutical companies advancing, changing, modifying the vaccines to be responsive to these mutations that are giving rise to these variants.
So then do you envision the booster shot being something akin to the flu shot where people need to get it annually?
I have long believed that we are going to be receiving a flu vaccine and a COVID vaccine for the foreseeable future.
But for now, the advice to protect yourself is what you've already heard, says Stephanie Silvera.
It does not matter what the variant is. Get vaccinated, wear your mask, spatial distance, and ventilation is the key to reducing transmission.
So while the variants continue to surface, that advice has stayed the same. For NJ Spotlight News, I'm Joanna Gagis.